Today on Locked On Rockies, should Chuck Nasty head back to the home run derby?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 450th episode of Locked On Rockies. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Proud to be your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. And if you want your questions answered live from this guy who's been following the Rockies all his life and bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast for a season and some change, well, all you got to do is hit subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube so you can pop into the live chat and get your questions answered live right here on the show. We've had so many great people pop into the chat since we've been on YouTube, and you can get your questions answered, especially when you have one. If it's pertaining to the game tonight, maybe the game coming up, or something that you have seen in Rockies land that you want to talk about, the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel is the place to be for that. Today on Locked On Rockies, I want to ask another question, keeping with the all-star kind of theme of yesterday, is should Charlie Blackmon represent the Colorado Rockies in the All-Star game? Not the All-Star game. Well, we argued that yesterday. I meant specifically the home run derby this year after a mammoth home run last night puts the Rockies ahead. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about an update we saw from Danielle Allentug on the status of the Rockies and the trade deadline. Look ahead to tonight's game as well. But before we dive into anything, got to tell you that today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Rockies listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code LOCKEDON at checkout. Charlie Blackmon comes up in a massive situation last night for the Colorado Rockies and puts another ball over the wall, something he has done so much in his career for the Colorado Rockies. He has surpassed his home run total of last year with 79 games played this season. Hasn't even played half of all the games, a couple of days off there for him, and he has already surpassed his home run total, hitting the most amount of home runs since 32 in his all-star season there back in 2019. A great improvement for Charlie Blackmon. Charlie Blackmon's also participated in the home run derby before. I would like to see it. I think Charlie Blackmon still has shown that he would be a fun addition to this home run derby lineup that just honestly gets better and better and more exciting, especially when you're allowing Albert Rodriguez, who am I talking about? I was excited because Julio Rodriguez announcing himself into the home run derby is so awesome. It is so cool. I think it's cool that Pujols is in there. And again, as I cross those streams there, but I think this home run derby would also, the added flair of a Charlie Blackmon could make for a field that is already really, really exciting. Let's take a look at the home run derby field right now. And it's going to be a good one, folks, especially because Pete Alonso is in there yet again. And let's see here. Pete Alonso is there. Ronald Acuna Jr., Albert Pujols, Juan Soto is at Kyle Schwarber, Julio Rodriguez. Those are who we have right there. And I believe I was seeing something. I think I saw Passan talking about I can't remember who. I think Jose Ramirez from the Guardians was maybe getting the call. But again, I think this might be a time that we can see Charlie Blackmon shine. I think the home run derby is something that I bet he would do. I think that he would be enticed and excited, especially by how well he's been swinging the bat. Jose Ramirez, if he's accepting that, only has 3 more home runs than Charlie Blackmon this year. It's not necessarily, again, how many home runs you've hit this year. It's your ability to do so. And we know Charlie Blackmon can do that. Pete Alonso, obviously the favorite. He is such a dominant force. And of course, Juan Soto. I mean, these are all names that, of course, would be great. And I think Charlie Blackmon would go in there and be a nice mix, a nice addition into this, and a nice kind of reminder that Charlie Blackmon is still swinging it really well. And if he was to get that invitation, if he was to get that offer, that's again something that makes you feel a little bit better about how Charlie Blackmon's performed. I think we're seeing a revitalized Charlie Blackmon, and I don't know how much he'll admit it, or I don't really know how much I could prove it, so to speak, but I think that switch to DH is paying off. The fact that Charlie Blackmon gets opportunities to get in games and get swinging without having to worry about always playing defense is something that has been really, really beneficial for him as a DH this year. He's been a much better. I think it just adds. You can just have a nice. His approach at the plate is good. He has been very clutch for the Rockies, and he's continuing to put them out. Again, 14 home runs. That's nothing to shy away from there. Let's take a look here again. Let's compare to again. If I know why Albert Pujols is going to be in the home run derby. Obviously, that makes sense. But he's only got the 6 home runs this year. Let's take a look at Julio Rodriguez's numbers here for home runs. He's got 15. He's only got the one. Obviously, Julio is the rookie sensation. But again, if Julio can get in and get the invitation, then another example for the midseason classic for a Rockies player to at least get the invitation. I think the obvious answer would be CJ Cron. You'd think, yeah, we're going to go to CJ Cron. That would make sense. He's been a home run leader. I wouldn't be surprised if he has gotten the invitation. That wrist injury changes everything. I don't think you're going to see CJ Cron do something like the home run derby if he's worried about that wrist. I wonder if he was one of the ones already invited on and being there, but he's also already representing the Rockies in the All-Star game. So a good way to get more Rockies representation into the Midsummer Classic would be to extending the invite to Charlie Blackmon to represent the Rockies. And I think that's a good invite. Again, where he's right there with, let's take a look at Ronald Acuna's numbers, but 1 home run behind Julio Rodriguez. Not a rookie phenom, but he's got more home runs than Ronald Acuna Jr. this year. Acuna Jr. has 8 home runs this year. Pete Alonso really the only one kind of way out in front. And then let's get a look at Kyle Schwarber as well. And I'm not saying any of these people don't deserve to be in no matter what their numbers are. These are names that you want in the home run derby, especially Kyle Schwarber, who's sitting there at 28 of them. These are all names that make for an exciting home run derby. That's not my point. My point is, yet again, like we talked about yesterday with the All-Star conversation, is here's an example of a Rockies player that would be a good, solid argument to be in to be represented. The Rockies do have reason to be represented here, especially as while the team might not hit a lot of home runs, CJ Cron and Charlie Blackmon have been responsible for all of them, basically. I mean, Chris Bryant's come alive late. Could be interesting to see if maybe he gets a sneaky little invite there just to be the new face of the Rockies and to go in there and just kind of remind everyone that he is part of the Colorado Rockies. For those that might have forgotten, I don't see that happening after he just gave birth to twins, which congratulations to the Bryant family as well. There, I saw today that it was twins that they welcomed. What was it, yesterday or soon recently? If you missed, Chris Bryant is not playing because he is on the paternity list, not because he is hurt. But so congratulations to them. So yeah, that's kind of there's plenty of great other candidates out there. There's plenty of people that have hit more home runs than Charlie Blackmon that might be interesting. I just think that when you look at this lineup, Charlie Blackmon would fit right in there. He'd be a fun personality to have there on the field during the games and during the celebrations, and he would be a good way for the Rockies to be represented as someone who is improving in terms of long ball, especially. That's a nice kind of mantelpiece to top on for Charlie Blackmon. Hey, I've already hit more home runs than I did last year. And Charlie Blackmon's going to run into at least a couple more this year. Well, now I get to participate in the home run derby, showing everyone, hey, Chuck Nasty still can swing it. Chuck Nasty still puts the thump in the ball, and Chuck Nasty's still here to ball. And I love that about him. I think that's something that he wanted to prove this year. And while it hasn't been perfect, while it hasn't always worked out, Charlie Blackmon's had a good season, and for him to the biggest way to reflect on him improving on that home run number from last year is to get him an invitation and participate in the home run derby. I love the home run derby. I hope you all feel the same. Adrian's catching the live stream. He says, finally, I can catch a live stream. Super excited to have you here, Adrian Ortega, in the live chat. If you got live questions that you want to ask, like Adrian and our buddies that we always have here in the live chat, you can subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube. Lots of great people make this show possible, and that includes our friends at Blue Nile. Blue Nile. You can celebrate all of life's special moments at BlueNile.com, from creating the custom engagement ring of their dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find anywhere else. And if you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a big milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as your favorite person with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. At BlueNile.com, they have staff available 24/7, available on the phone or via the web chat to help you pick out the right jewelry piece for any occasion. If you're like me, you're going to need a lot of help picking that. You're kind of in over your head when it comes to something like jewelry. It's a big purchase. It's a big commitment. Is it going to look right? This, that, and the other thing? Well, the great staff at BlueNile.com are going to take great care of you. They also have one-of-a-kind jewelry that is handcrafted and hand set from the Blue Nile jewelers themselves. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Rockies listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. So we were just talking about Charlie Blackmon in the home run derby. Would you like to see Charlie Blackmon in the home run derby? Would you like to see a different Rockies representative in the home run derby? Do you think Charlie Blackmon deserves to be in the home run derby? I think the argument's there. I think there's a strong case to be made, and I think he would be a fun piece to go forward with the Rockies. We'll dive into the live chat here before checking in with a piece from Danielle Allentuck. Adrian Ortega says, what's your thoughts on Welker never really getting a chance? That's a good question. It's I'm going to have to, this is a question I'm going to ask to Lindsey Crosby there of Locked On MLB Prospects. To me, just from the immediate outside looking in, this has Rockies let him go, the Giants pick him up, and he's going to be better just under their system. But when you look at, I think part of it, and I think when you look at it, was they decided to go with Ryan McMahon. They have other pieces that could go and be part of the club in that position, especially coming up maybe a little bit sooner. He was on the 60-day injured list this year as well. So, I don't necessarily know. It's a good point. He didn't really ever get a shake, especially in the AAA this year. In 10 games, he did bat .324 with an OBP of .422, slugging of .514, and OPS of .936. I don't have much on that one. That's a move that I was kind of surprised to see, but I also wasn't hearing his name pop up a lot when it came to prospect talk and top prospects for the Rockies. But we can dive into that further because, again, could that easily come back and bite the Rockies right in the butt like it's usually done in the past? Very much so, especially when a division rival goes out and picks them up as well. Heading over to the Colorado Springs Gazette here after a quick water break. Whew, there we go. It's very hot and stuffy in my room where I record, but let's dive in here over there. The Denver Gazette, Colorado Springs Gazette, the Gazette. Danielle Allentuck. We talk to her all the time. She asked general manager if the team expects to be a big seller, general manager Bill Schmidt, and she was granted with a simple no. The Rockies are not going to be big sellers at the deadline. Again, looking to try, they feel confident. And part of it is they have people that want to be here, people that are committed to being here. That we have with Schmidt telling Allentuck the classic line that he believes in these guys and that the farm system is going to come and bring some reinforcements. But it's not what we are. It's not what you're really hoping to hear. Again, you it's that ultimate hard thing of fandom where it is you like Daniel Bard, of course you love CJ Crone, Jose Iglesias, what a surprise, it's been great. But you have, for example, let's take Jose Iglesias for example. He's moving on. He's going on to the next. He's going to be a free agent. You have the future behind one of your highly regarded prospects coming up real soon. Most likely going to get some playing time at the end of the year and stuff like that. If the season's all but gone, why not get the Rockies in the trade deadline? The value is there. It's worth it to just go out, especially if. I just don't think it's that outrageous to really think if you're the Rockies, if you can believe to bring these players back, why not send them out and see if you can kind of do both. That might not seem like it, as Chad Kuhl himself tells in the Alan Tuck piece, is saying he doesn't want to be the guy that bounces around from place to place. I totally understand that. From the player's perspective, obviously they want to stay. That's unfortunately not kind of the nature of the business we're talking there. If you're a player, obviously you're looking for the multi-year deal. We saw how important it was for CJ Crone to get the multi-year deal for the Rockies, how much that meant to him that he actually was given the chance to be here for a consistent season, something that he was, because he was the guy, bam, 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 pinball. Chad Kuhl could face that as well. But again, the Rockies love this type of stuff, and they're so quick and so fast to commit that it's just like, can you really let your farm system take over? Can you really see if your team can take these extra steps? Can you take a different approach and grow as a team in the middle of the season and just go instead like we got here? It's like Adrian's saying, you have some of these prospects. If you're not going to get them playing time, and like Adrian's saying, I don't mind Colton Welker not getting reps, but he was a top prospect. If we don't see a future, then why not trade him? That can be associated with so many players. Why, if you don't need Jose Iglesias for next season, get the draft pick. People are going to want Jose Iglesias at the deadline this year. Stephen Crossan here says there, call me. You got it. Those two players, you got to be listening for. They could come back to the Rockies, sure, but they also could go to somewhere else. They could walk away. The Rockies miss out on so many opportunities to actually rebuild or rehash this farm system. And now they're going to hide behind this fact that they got a couple of top prospects. But when you skim away the fact that the Rockies have a few top exciting prospects, that depth is still lacking. The depth that we've already seen be an issue at the major league level continues to be an issue. So why you're not more willing to be sellers at the deadline is beyond me. Realistically, what was the point of having? Is that one draft pick really going to be the next Trevor Story? It's not. You didn't get John Gray back. What if you can't get the deals done? We've already seen this front office unable to get the deal done with a long-time Rocky. And, you can say with stuff with John Gray in hindsight of the way I haven't actually paid attention to John Gray, but I know the beginning of the season, the injury stuff and yada, yada, yada. But to already just be greeted with a simple no, it's just steadfast Rockies ways. I would rather, if the Rockies are going to still be 15 games out of whatever contention, I'd rather be watching Montero, Tovar play, not Jose Iglesias. And not because I don't enjoy watching Jose Iglesias. It's because you could trade him and he can go play for a contender and at this stage of his career and continue to contribute like he's done for 2 seasons now for people. He was good in Boston. He's made some good moves. Same with Alex there out of the bullpen. I mean, you have to be willing to make those moves, not just and I do appreciate, honestly, as much as it isn't good in baseball business, I do appreciate the Rockies' loyalty to players and the willingness to take risks on players that have bounced around and give them a commitment and give them give them contracts. I honestly think that's pretty cool. I actually think the Rockies going out and giving some of these players that in the bigger wide scale market don't have much of a name, but the Rockies have appreciated what they've done for their clubs and the club and rewarded them. That's the gooey, that's the nice, that's the kind of the respect I have for major league ball players and them getting what they deserve, because no matter what I say, no matter what we do, or no matter the performance, they're still major league ball players, and I believe that they should be, compensated as such. So I do appreciate the Rockies doing that, but it doesn't help those players in the team get to where everyone wants to go, which is the championship. And you can't be a draft and develop team when your farm system continues to not be ranked that high with a couple of outliers in there in between. We got a couple of comments here in the live chat. Stephen Cross says, take a look at the Dodgers. They have a stacked farm system. They have incredible depth. Whenever their prospects come up, they have no pressure because they don't need to be the star of the team. Massive points there. And we're waiting on not only do we have to wait for the prospects to come up, but then there's such wait. We're already talking Tovar is too low. I saw Thomas Harding doing some comparisons and stuff. I mean, we're already looking for the next Nolan Arenado. It's an interesting situation there. Adrian says, even Urana's SP, our starting pitcher, are always needed. He's held down the Dodgers at home and decent on the Padres, but Iglesias has to go. Trejo can hold it down. That's Alan Trejo is still there. The Rockies, again, have options at shortstop. You don't need Jose Iglesias, and it's much better to, especially when you're going to have to make the decision of a move there. And Iglesias' defense isn't that great, and he isn't doing enough in terms of offense to really make you say we got to hold on to him. There's more interesting options there. You can really see what you can do to go out and get something interesting there. Another comment here from Stephen Cross. Like, the Rockies are planning to have Tovar and Veen be their future stars. That's great and all, but that's going to create pressure on our young, good prospects because we're expecting them to be stars. That's absolutely right. And that's why it's important imagine how different it'd be when Rockies prospects were coming up against some of the names that the Rockies could have had and still had on this team. Now it is a lot of pressure for them to come up and immediately compete, and they have to compete against some of the best. They have to go and play the Dodgers. They have to play the Padres. They have to play the Giants. They have to play the Diamondbacks. It's a pretty tough situation here. Nicholas here in the live chat says, since you know Seattle so well, what would you do for a trade with them, especially with them looking so good right now that could possibly help both teams? That's really, really interesting. I think the big thing that initially was what I thought that the Mariners would be interested in would be for CJ Cron to get that extra thump in the lineup. But then it's like, well, Ty France is out there dominating. Are you really going to go and make a move for someone like CJ Cron when you have that? Just because for the Mariners' issues, they were struggling with offensive depth and offensive strength here. Here was a trade proposal here from a week ago on Fansided, the Soto Mojo. So they would be offering Adam Mako, Cade Marlowe, and Brian Wu, two pitchers and an outfielder there for CJ Cron. He's a strike with Mako being described as a strikeout machine, tallying 15.1 strikeouts per nine per year last year, an A-ball, and 14.1 this year at High A Everett. He's young. He's a lefty, which would be huge. I think if you were to look for a Mariners trade, it would be the Rockies going after someone like Mako there to get left-handed pitching arms. I think the Rockies are if they are going to move, it's going to be to add depth to the left-handed pitching of the Rockies. Whew! The live chat is going off. And I know that you know what, Nicholas, I want to dive more into that. And I'm going to reach out maybe I want to reach out to Seattle's a very interesting trade candidate for the Rockies. I think that might be some interesting pieces there, especially if the Mariners want to do something a little different with their bullpen that hasn't been as good as last year. The Mariners have a lot of prospects, and I really think that Cron would be the one that the Mariners would want, though, because they would be looking for that big bat, and that's the biggest bat that the Rockies have that's going to be tradable. Again, as I've said multiple times, you will not see Charlie Blackmon get traded for the Rockies there at all. I just don't think that's going to make the moves there. It'd be interesting because I don't know what the Mariners now are on a roll going into the deadline. Who knows what they do with in Seattle, but I can ask around and I can see. But if you want to get in on the action of the sports world, the sports gambling world, well, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including all of the action this year in Major League Baseball. Also, MMA, boxing, golf, all the sporting action. BetOnline.net has you covered. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today, betonline.net, or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Woo! We were popping off there, so we're going to do a quick little recap of last night's game and diving into the game tonight. The Rockies offense, that's a good, clean game from the Rockies coming back. Obviously gets a little shaky there late. You don't love to see what happens there, especially from Colomé there and going into with the walks. Daniel Bard, though, nails after the damage is done there in the eighth. Rockies get some good timely hitting. They get a good couple of hits there from the Iglesias, Blackmon, Ryan McMahon picking up a hit, Garrett Hampson, Sam Hilliard having a nice day on defense. The Rockies played good defense yesterday. Lots of great Brian Serven there behind the dish with some wonderful throws, and Ryan McMahon with that nice big play. The Rockies continue to be a thorn in the side of the Padres, something that is again going to haunt them in the grand scheme of things. The Rockies continue to just be a team that they struggle with. I know they just, I believe they are 6-3 against the Padres this year so far. And again, they got one of their better starters on the bump here, going for at least the series split. At 6-5, Chad Kuhl takes the bump going up against Musgrove, though, who has been dominant for the Padres. Joe Musgrove, 8-2, 2.09 ERA, 15 games this season, just about under 100 innings pitched. So again, the benefit, the Rockies, Coors Field, Padres, hey, they went out against Clevenger last night and were able to use it and put some thump in the balls when they needed to do it, and led to a nice Rockies win. Good split with the Padres here would be great. Setting yourself up for a series win would be even better, especially against a team like the Padres that needs to beat a team like the Rockies and needs to be better against a team like the Rockies. But folks, got to wrap things up. It's been a wonderful, wonderful podcast today. So many of you in the live chat. Adrian, Steven, Nicholas, thank you all so much for joining the show today. I see more of you here in the chat as well. Thank you all for tuning in. It is the 450th episode of Locked On Rockies today, so thank you all so much for listening for this whole time, and especially since I've taken over, we've had an awesome, awesome time, and it's because each and every one of you out there are tuning in and listening, either free and streaming on your favorite streaming service or tuning in here to the live show on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. We got first pitch here just around the corner. Perfect amount of time for you to listen to this back if you're just tuning in now or if you're catching us on your favorite streaming service. Follow Locked On MLB Prospects and listen to them. Make them your second listen of the day. And, of course, stay up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Nuggets podcast. And, of course, us right here at the Locked On Rockies podcast. Folks, until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On